You guys know what time it is. Get strapped in and ready for some good times. This is the Blowed Out Podcast. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is your fatty with a natty here, coming at you as always from Ogden, Utah. Lord, it's the middle of November. Believe that? That's, I was not prepared for this. However, thankfully, we don't have any white stuff yet, and I'm okay with that. My knees and my back and everything else say we're perfectly fine with no white stuff yet, because I'm not ready. Well, as expected, the madness has continued this week, after the shutdown. Still the same old stuff. However, today, they passed unanimously, well, almost, I guess, for 416 to 1 or 415 to 1, something like that, to release the Epstein files, which, yay. There have been a lot of analysts, folks talking about how disappointed everyone's going to be when they see what actually gets released, but, you know, there you go, kids. Anybody who thought that it was going to change anything, there you go, they're going to get released. I maintain that it isn't going to change anything other than told you so's, but what do I know? Lots of madness in California. Big shocker there. I just saw, apparently, they are just releasing murder suspects, at least a couple, anyhow, without bail. Just, you know, you're cool. And the one statement I saw from a public defender that apparently convinced said judge to release the, basically sewn up murder suspect, at least in one of the cases, was that he seems like he really wants to do better, and he hasn't been arrested since. So, you know, he should be fine. Should be fine. No harm, no foul. Let's just, that was a long time ago. You know what? Let's just let it go. No worries. This is why all of us need to be prepared for some crazies, for some crazy stuff. You guys know. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Because I'm the big meanie that says stuff. It never stops. You'd think I would learn, but I don't. Isn't it interesting how quickly everything went from Snap and EBT to just right back to Epstein files, or Lord, I don't know. You can't make this stuff up. There's always going to be something that someone is going to have some problem with, and they're going to cry about. Doesn't make any sense to me, but nothing ever does. So why should I be surprised? You know, now, hopefully everybody is preparing for the great Festivus next week that some of us just call Thursday. Honestly, it's lost its luster for me over the years, but it is Thanksgiving, and hopefully everyone, now that the air traffic controllers are back to getting paid with apparently at least promised big fat bonuses for sticking it out, as if they had a choice. All the flights should be going through just as messed up as always. You can try and get wherever you want to get to be with your loved ones. Hopefully it goes smoothly. I hope so for all of you. That, however, will remain to be seen. One thing that does strike me in all of this, and it's as random as everything else usually is, with all the people asking for food in the past couple of weeks, and with Thanksgiving rapidly approaching, And I can't remember if I talked about this yet or not, so I apologize if I did, but I cannot figure out why people are so ate up with the best if used by dates on stuff. Because I've got a bunch of canned goods and stuff that, that I was willing to throw down to someone in need, or if someone needs a little help with their holiday planning stuff, or, if someone is hungry and I've got something to give. But the first thing that always comes up is it expired? I'm curious about this. I would genuinely like some feedback on this. Why do people think that matters, say, on a can of beans or, a box of mac and cheese? Why? Or even eggs? Why? Why? Now, granted, I'm not normal. I think we've established that at this point, like 100%. But all of those things, unless they are very, very, very expired, won't hurt you. You won't even know the difference. Now, granted, after like a year, maybe, they might start to get a little skunky. After several months, eggs get, a little funky, but they won't hurt you. They won't kill you. They won't make you sick. They'll keep you alive if that's all you have to eat. I assure you, I've done it. But I also grew up, like cutting the fur off of the block of cheese. And it's nothing. Who cares? Cut off the green part, eat the rest. But people look at me like my head is on fire when I say that. And I cannot wrap my head around that. Like I said, especially with pantry goods. Okay, sure, if it's a bag of flour or something that weevils could get into, I guess. Or cereal. But like canned goods, or again, a box of macaroni and cheese. You think that there's not so much garbage in those things that they aren't shelf stable for a lot longer than the damn date? Come on now. I can't be the only one, right? I'm sure I'm not. Most of you, I assume, are way smarter than that. It just wilds me out that someone who claims that they are starving and have nothing to eat will turn away something because it expired last month, even though it literally can't go bad. We're not talking milk, and we're not talking a hard loaf of bread. Like I said, we're talking cans of beans or boxes of mac and cheese or things of that nature, which, Lord, I don't know. If anyone cares to elaborate on that, please get at me, because I'm genuinely curious. That stuff won't hurt anything. You guys know me, though. I like mac and cheese. Well, hell, look at me. There's not a whole bunch that I don't like. You know what I'm really not in the mood for, though, this year? Strange. Turkey. I feel like, unpopular opinion, turkey has gotten to be quite overrated. 2 or 3 days later, cold out of the fridge, with a bunch of mayo on some janky-ass white bread, man, that's a good sandwich. But right off the bird, I prefer ham. I'm going to go ahead and say it. And I think that is a growing movement. Let's do ham or tri-tip. Brisket's overrated. We already know that. But, man, turkey I guess every once in a while it's okay. Every other Thanksgiving, let's call it. Why does it have to be every? That's even though technically, yes, that's every once in a while, it still seems like too much. I don't know. Just one fat guy's opinion. One fat guy that really likes food. I'll bet ain't nobody getting worked up over the best by use by date on a damn turkey, though. Y'all just out there assuming that it's fresh. Well, Some folks, anyhow. They just figure, well, they're only in the store this time of year in mass. They only have the giant end cap full of frozen bowling balls this time of year. They gotta be fresh, right? Oh, oh no. I used to have a couple guys I worked with did the moonlit at a turkey farm here locally. That is a wild business, my friends. I don't know if you know anything about it. And granted, I don't know much, but boy, I've heard stories. At least a few. And that, man, I feel bad for a turkey. And, I generally don't feel bad for any of my food, but that's a wild chain of events for a turkey farm. Especially when they put that little ding turkey timer in there. I'll bet they don't do that. I'll bet they don't do that ethically. And, I'm the last person to worry about ethics when it comes to that stuff. Give them the old ping right there in the bean. They don't know what hit them, but shoving that turkey timer in seems invasive. And this is probably the wrong time to be talking about it, but man, the pest control measures and stuff like that, boy. And I'm sure it's with everything. Of course, I'm no dummy. If we actually thought about some of the stuff that went into our food that we didn't harvest ourselves, we'd probably never eat again. But just saying, around this time of year, maybe just stick with those cranberries with the ribs in them. I think they grow them special at Vandy Camps. I think that's somewhere off the coast of Aruba. Yeah, ribbed cranberries. Very select breed. Speaking of this time of year, I'm sure a lot of you, such as myself, are just inundated with leaves at the moment. I happen to be in an HOA. That's not a flex by any means. I hate HOAs, and I've got to be careful not to get myself in trouble because I promised certain people I wouldn't talk about the HOA. But if you're going to pay X amount of money per month to be in said HOA, and that covers things like lawn care or yard maintenance, you would think that that would include the sticks and the leaves that are all over the damn yard right now. But no, that is strictly just mowing. And this is why I really don't know where I was going with that, other than it pisses me off that I literally can't even see any grass, yet there's no snow, and still somehow this comes out of the budget every month. So I'd like to know how that works. But again, I'm not supposed to say anything about it. Hopefully, y'all ain't buried under leaves, or if you are, you've paid the neighbor kids or your kids to rake them up and get rid of them, because, man, they're everywhere, and what a pain in the ass. So, do yourselves a favor. Pay somebody to rake up all them pesky leaves. But I suppose if you're going to pay somebody to rake up all your leaves, then that cuts into the Christmas budget, which also does not feel like it is literally knocking on the front steps. I don't know about you guys. To me, it doesn't feel like, we're trucking on into the holiday season at all. I think everything has been so crazy with the world right now. Like, that's the last thought on my mind. And it seems to have gotten that way a little bit more and more every year, just normally and naturally, that my kids are older. I'm pretty sure that they don't believe that I'm Santa anymore. I mean, you never know, but it certainly does not seem very festive with everything going on otherwise in the world. I really wish that wasn't the case, because I used to love all the holidays. Well, except for Valentine's, which is just a crock. We all know that. But the actual big holidays, I used to love them all and really be excited and want to put up all the stuff and get all worked up and festive and drink hot apple cider and, have the place smell like cinnamon and pine and all that good stuff. But that stuff just seems like it's really gone out the window now. Now I just want it to not smell like, I don't know, drones and nuclear warfare. God. Man. Yeah, I probably am a little bit of a Buzz Killington over here, but somebody has to be thinking of these things, right? Especially when there's crazies around every corner. They're letting more crazies out without bail. And I assume that this is probably just the first we're hearing about that. But the price of ammunition has not really gone down that much. I mean, yeah, there's some good deals to be had if you keep your eyes peeled. But in the grand scheme of things, it's still not what one would consider affordable when you're talking about quantity. But obviously still a necessity, y'all. You guys know that. At least where you can. I love dropping this kind of stuff on here, and I hope you guys enjoy hearing me do it. But this, unlike Facebook, I don't get a whole lot of pushback on. I don't get called an asshole or a racist or, all the other things that people think. Oh, in fact, I just got called grandpa, and I have been called boomer, which is just hilarious to me. Maybe I look that old. But I'm neither of those things. And somehow that's an insult, I guess, from some youngster that thinks me saying the shit that no one else has the balls to makes me an asshole or a racist or a boomer or a grandpa. Like, he hurt my feelings. I'll bet he's got grandkids, that bastard. It's the damnedest thing I've heard, at least in the last 2 hours. I don't ever remember Grandpa being a big jab when we were kids. Do you? I was going to tell you guys. First of all, I was going to tell you that I've been thinking about getting me one of those like crazy Tony Robbins headsets so that I could just walk around and point at stuff while I'm doing this. But then I just realized that would end poorly. I'd probably get demonetized and everyone would wonder why there's always a waterfall in the background. So, we're not going to do a headset. But, speaking of being called names and a big meanie on social media, for some of you that follow me, my personal stuff, which, for obvious reasons, I won't put out there for everyone, but at the same time, it's really not that hard to find. I figure if anybody wants any of my stuff, they already have it anyhow, including, all that important stuff that we worried about when we were younger, social security numbers, things like that. If anybody wants that shit, they already got it, so I'm not too worried about it. But there was a woman locally today that posted in a local page that's notorious for just chewing people up and spitting them out. Like, this is just I don't know what it was supposed to be in the beginning, but now it has just turned into post random things like, 918 times a day post, give me your recommendations for a tattoo artist, or God, what time does this start, or is that restaurant still open, which is just asinine because you literally have to run your finger past Google to get to like the Facebook button. But anyhow, I assume this was some sort of super Wookiee white Wanda that posted that she had found a lot, as I guess, a collection of ceramic type kitchen stuff at a thrift store. And within that collection was a set of blackface salt and pepper shakers. Now, we all know what blackface is. We also all know that right, wrong, or indifferent, it's part of history. So, of course, again, I never learned, but I felt compelled to say, well, if it bothers you so much, then throw the damn things away. You know, it's not that hard. It's the same as TV. If you don't like what's on TV, turn the damn channel. If you don't like the song on the radio, change the station. If you don't like the smut in the book, don't read the damn book. You know, all these obvious things. Sometimes when I'm laying in bed waiting to get up and let my pills and everything kick in for the day before I get ready for work, I decide to peruse these pages and oftentimes feel compelled to be Dr. Obvious or say the things that no one else has the balls to say. So I commented and said, you know, if it's that big of a deal, Wanda, just throw them away. And then there was a couple of people, of course, you know, you big meanie, you're not helping, just shut up, blah, blah, which is, of course, is also true. But it came out that they are not blackface. They're just black. So I said, okay. And then I was the big meanie for saying, well, they're just black. It's not blackface. They're literally, they could be old. You know, they could be worth something to a collector, but you can literally also still just buy them on probably, I assume, hundreds of websites. So it's probably not nearly as big of a deal as you're making it. And then I was a big meanie because all of the, like, little, 20-something-year-old Wanda Juniors that decided to chime in and tell me how much of a racist I am and a dirtbag and everything else, got equally offended when I said that I assume they also don't eat Aunt Jemima or Uncle Ben's, or they agreed with taking the likeness of those folks off of the packaging who happened to be the folks that started the company. Like this is where we're at. This is where this, good Lord, young, what in the hell generation is at. And if anyone out there falls into being that young, I assume that you're not that way because you're still listening. But I can't wrap my head around it. Like, how am I somehow a dirtbag? Or how is it somehow so horrifically offensive to have a black salt and pepper shaker? Like the little couple. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. It could be snowman. It could be jolly little fat white folk. It could be black folks. It could be whatever. But there's always a dude and a chick, a man and a woman, a couple. And they're just salt shakers. But you would think that this was something just straight out of the Jim Crow Museum. Now, granted, it may have been, but nobody actually knows because it's just an anonymous Facebook post. But for the love of God, half of this shit is only offensive because someone lets it or someone makes it. My God, my black family members give way less of a shit about the black salt and pepper shakers than half of these people on social media. And I just cannot figure it out, or how I also can't figure out how they're going to make it in life. Is it just me? I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, please, someone. And I'm sure someone would be happy to, but sometimes I feel like this is not that crazy. Like, I often feel like the things I say, or some of the things I say at least, are not crazy at all. Not outlandish, not not sneezing in the background from the producer dog. But like, is it me? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. Like, I think this is being genuinely overthought to a degree that is just ridiculous. And I don't see anything good coming of it. I've said it before. Maybe 31 Atlas or 3i Atlas or whoever you ask, depending on the day. Maybe it's a good thing that baby could just wipe us out. I don't get it. Like I said, let me know. Let me know what you think. Because I don't think that I'm off my rocker here or that far off the rails. I don't get it. Yes, I love to stir the shit. You guys know me. Everyone that actually knows me in person knows that I have a huge heart and I love everybody. I don't see color. I love everybody, but I'm also an equal opportunity offender, and it's usually just jokes. Now, there are some people very close to me that say sometimes, some of my stuff isn't funny. I get that. Everybody's got to have a swing and a miss sometimes, but for the most part, good Lord. If everybody's just going to be this ate up all the time about everything, then we got no future, right? I mean, is it me? I don't know. I'm going to take a break. You guys let me know what you think. Are you a business owner or marketing director for your company? Would you like to explore the potential benefits of advertising on the show? The Blowed Out podcast currently reaches listeners in over 104 cities spread across 13 countries worldwide. To explore advertising options, including budgeting and frequency, email us at blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com and be sure to include marketing in the subject line. All right, kids. Well, during the break, I decided that I assume most of you appreciate the things I say because I'm willing to say them. And usually they're pretty funny. Well, at least there can be humor taken away from it all. But at the same time, I would rather be an open sinner than a false saint. So, if I have to, I guess, I don't know. I don't necessarily ever want to piss anyone off. Ruffle feathers, sure. But if it's things that need to be said or that should be said, then I'm fine with saying them. Anyhow, it also brought me back to a story. Speaking of Thanksgiving, it reminds me of one year when I was a young man. When my dear mother and sister were still with us, and Mom was in, oh Lord, probably Egypt or Jordan or, I don't know, some corner of the globe where it's warmer than it is here for Thanksgiving. So I took it upon my eldest child self to handle up some Thanksgiving. So I told a couple friends, come on over, we're going to do this up. And I went and got a bunch of stuff to have Thanksgiving dinner. And it was what I would probably consider a shit show. I didn't know how to make all that stuff happen at the same time. So it ended up being like a 14-course dinner, but it was just the regular Thanksgiving stuff, like a turkey breast and some of those elusive ribbed cranberries and some green beans and whatnot. But man, I just could not figure out the logistics of how to bring them all out at the same time warm. So it probably turned into like a 4 or 5 hour affair just trying to eat some damn Thanksgiving dinner. So shout out to all the ones who have mastered the art of bringing it all out at once and having it be warm and not just a total train wreck. That was the only Thanksgiving story right off the top of my head I could come up with. And boy, it's like I said, there was just a handful of us, both my sisters and I, and a couple of my brothers, and we did what we could do, but it was not good. Luckily, I've gotten a little bit better since then, but that's still kind of a logistical nightmare. So again, kudos to all of you who can make that happen within somewhat of a timely manner, because it's not fun. I don't know how to juggle all that stuff at once. The only other roughly Thanksgiving story I can think of off the top of my head is one year we decided to do a big charity effort as one of my companies, one of my former companies. So we got a whole bunch of people together and organized. We called it Feed the Front, as in Wasatch Front. And we got a whole bunch of people together and went down to the Utah Food Bank, and I coordinated with those guys, who are fantastic, by the way. If you're in Utah and need anything or would like to help, man, those guys are a class act all the way. But we organized this great big deal and went down and took, oh Lord, I don't know, 12 or 15 people on one Saturday, and went down and sorted and rummaged through just these great big, Gaylords is what they're called. I don't know why they're called that, but anyone who's ever worked in a warehouse knows what a Gaylord is. It's the cardboard box that you could fit, 14 or 18 bodies in. Just full of, they were just stacked as far as you could see and full of you name it. And we had people inside of there just rooting through, pulling stuff out, boxing stuff up. And then the next weekend, we loaded it all up into our big 27-foot race trailer and took another 12 or 15, possibly more folks down. And we spent the whole day going around the Salt Lake Valley, taking Thanksgiving boxes to, I think it ended up being mostly elderly couples, shut-ins, folks of that nature that were on some sort of pre-vetted list that we got from the Utah Food Bank. And I'm here to tell you, if you've never done anything like that around this time of year, as far as outreach work, and we've done it for years and years and years. Every once in a while, we still try and do it. We've kind of gotten a little bit lax on it because with all the police presence and now there's like the, silver warnings, and I may have talked about this last episode, so I apologize if I did. I usually don't go back and listen to the previous episode to know what not to talk about next time. I just try and go off of memory, which is garbage. But so we really kind of halted, or at least stopped those efforts, because we would end up standing out in the cold for half a night, which is fine. I'm more than willing to do. We are more than willing to do, but because of all of the, like I said, police activity and shutdowns because of temperatures and things like that, there was just no one around to give stuff to. So anyhow, back to the Utah Food Bank thing. We ended up giving out, I believe it was something like 125 or 140 and something. I don't want to say it was 150. I feel like it was shy of 150, but it was a hell of a lot of boxes, and each family or each household got 2 boxes of stuff plus a turkey. So it took us all day, and we went all over doing it. And man, like I said, if you've never done anything like that before, I implore you to go give that a whirl, because it still to this day, 20, probably not quite 20 years later, but it was one of the most fulfilling, humbling experiences I've ever had. And I may or may not have leaked from my eyeballs more than once that day. But it was really, really awesome. And we've got some really great folks behind us. And like I said, give it a shot. Anything, volunteer at your local shelter or your Veterans Administration, the Homeless Veterans Administration. There's a lot of really great programs out there that you can go and help at, and it'll give you a whole new outlook on this time of year, kids. It really will. It's amazing, and I highly endorse anyone that's willing to go and do that. It's a really great thing, and it may or may not offset some of the bad things I do the rest of the year. That's not why I do it, but that's how it ends up feeling. So, give it a shot. I promise it'll change your life. Every once in a while, when I say those things to you guys, I have to remind myself that this isn't just going to people I know. And it's easy to forget that when I'm just sitting here by myself or with the Wonder Producer dog. Or even if we're at the shop, just heydaying and hoo-hawing and, just having shenanigans. I don't know enough about other places in the world, because admittedly, I have never been outside the continental United States. I wish that wasn't true, but it is. So, being that we have listeners in 133 cities now in 14 countries, I can't speak for those places, but I assume they're all fairly similar. And I don't. Again, I don't know if you guys celebrate everywhere that may or may not be listening. I don't know if you guys celebrate Thanksgiving or how that all goes, but man, if it's something you guys can facilitate, or if it's something that you may need facilitated, feel free to reach out to us, to anyone locally, wherever you may be. We've talked about it a million times. Well, probably not a million, but you know what I mean. There's no reason other than you wanting to be alone during the holidays that you have to be. And it's certainly a rough time of year for a lot of folks. I think when I said earlier that it gets a little bit less and less glamorous for me every year, for a lot of the same reasons that it's not necessarily glamorous for other folks also. We think about lost ones, or ones that don't get to celebrate or can no longer celebrate. So please don't feel like you have to be alone if you don't want to. And don't feel like there's never anyone to talk to, because I promise there is. Like I said, you can always reach out to me. I mean, I don't think I've violated any Geneva Convention rules. I don't know. I should probably brush up on it, but I don't think I have, and I haven't received any death threats. So, I think I'm doing okay in that regard, but man, like I said, I'm always willing to help. So if you want to reach out, I'm more than happy to try and do some homework or some legwork and help find resources. Just don't feel like you have to be alone or that there's no one to talk to. Please, because there's enough garbage going on in the world that stuff doesn't need to be happening to the degree that it does either. I hope that sooner than later there will be a good answer to that, or a good resolution to as much of that is currently going on. But I'm only one guy, so I'm always willing to help, but man, I sure hope that there's better things on the horizon. On that note, I am going to shut up for this episode. I think it went well. I hope you guys agree. I hope you've had fun listening. I hope you tell a friend. Remember, we are now on YouTube. If you would like to listen on YouTube, or if it's easier for you to listen on YouTube, I am still always dabbling with the idea of doing video, although I've mentioned before it might not always be a good thing, but for now the RSS feed is on YouTube, so you can listen to all episodes, and of course, Spotify, iHeart, Apple, Amazon, Google, all of those. So I hope you'll tell a friend. We can keep this train rolling. If you like what you hear, shoot us an email. Give us something. Like I said, I haven't had any death threats this week, so let them rip. I mean, preferably not death threats, but at least I'll know somebody's listening. Anyhow, hope everyone has a great week. Try and be good to one another. Just, at least try. Stir some shit, but at the end of the day, love everybody. We'll talk to you guys real soon. Love you. Cheers.